The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
Let us pray. God of the nations, as these esteemed men and women gather to deliberate the business of the state of Minnesota, may each member grasp their burden of responsibility to the citizenry of our state. I pray that wisdom would kiss compassion, that reason would temper risk, and that in the midst of diversity, a spirit of unity may prevail. At the end of the day, with malice toward none, with charity for all, may our members leave this hall proud of the work that they have done together. May it be so. Amen.
The chaplain for today is Reverend Steve Moline from Chisago Lakes Lutheran Church in Center City, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. Quorum is present. The clerk will read the journal of the preceding day.
Journal of the House, 90th session, 2018, 71st day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Thursday, March 15th, 2018.
If there is no objection, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with, and the journal will be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Hearing no objection, the journal is approved as corrected by the chief clerk. The member from St. Louis, Representative Olson, for what purpose do you rise?
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
State your point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to recognize the members of the Alzheimer's Association that are here in the gallery today and have been with us all day, and say thank you for your work and your advocacy and for sharing your stories with us here today.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Hornstein, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to also recognize guests we have in the gallery.
State your point of personal privilege.
Thank you. We have members from the student councils of Lucy Laney and Kenwood Elementary Schools in Minneapolis visiting us today. Stand up and be recognized.
Reports of standing committees and divisions. There's a copy of this order of business on each member's desk. If there's no objection, the reports will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the reports are adopted. Second reading of House files.
Second reading, House File number 390.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File number 2911.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File number 3055.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 3221.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 3344.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 3389.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 3422.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 3432.
Second reading.
Second reading, 3448.
Second reading. Introduction of bills. The following House files have been offered for introduction today. The chief clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction of first reading of House Files 3948 through 4057.
First reading, House files 3948 through 4057. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Mr. Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following Senate file herewith transmitted. Senate file number 3133, and the message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate.
Do you want this attached here, this amendment?
Not right now. Just the first reading, and then I'll have to do the motion.
First reading of Senate files.
First reading, Senate file number 3133, an act relating to public safety. Pursuant to Article 4, Section 19 of the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, Torkelson moves that the rule therein be suspended and an urgency be declared, and that the rules of the House be so far suspended so that Senate file number 3133 be given its second and third readings and be placed upon its final passage.
Recognize the member from Brown, Representative Torkelson, two-year motion to suspend the rules.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is my motion. The Senate took action today on the MNLARS issue. They passed Senate File 3133 off the Senate floor, and I would like to affirmative motion to, or a green vote to suspend the rules.
Discussion on the Torkelson motion. The member from Dakota, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Representative Torkelson yield to a question?
He will yield. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Torkelson, is it your intention then to pass the Senate language that was worked out this weekend, or are you substituting the House language?
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Hansen, it's my intention that we substitute the House language as it was passed out of the Ways and Means Committee with a bipartisan vote.
Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And so if we go to if we suspend the rules and we substitute the House language, then we are into a conference committee situation here on March 19th. the notices went out to the private contractors on March 1st. So we would be into a conference committee process that could take days or weeks if we are going to suspend the rules and start a conference committee. If Representative Torkelson would yield.
He will yield. Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and Representative Hansen. Yes, the conference committee will take some time, but I can assure you that it will take as little time as possible. I've already started negotiating with Senator Newman, and I believe we can reach agreement very quickly.
Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, parliamentary inquiry.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, my parliamentary inquiry is if we took the Senate language, if we suspended the rules and approved the Senate language, then the bill would go correctly straight to the governor. Is that correct?
That is correct, Representative Hansen. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And parliamentary inquiry?
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, if we substitute, we as this body substitute the House language, then there would be a conference committee which you would have to name sometime today. Is that correct?
Potentially. However, the Senate could adopt our language once it goes back over there. They would have to reject that language for it to go to conference committee. Further, Representative Hansen.
And thank you, Mr. Speaker. And parliamentary inquiry, is the Senate in recess or have they adjourned for the day?
The Senate is in recess, Representative Hansen. Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, Representative Torkelson, it's about time. You know, this motion that you're making today, I support it, but it is well too late. There's already significant harm that has happened to Minnesotans because it appears that Republicans have wanted to make more of a political charade of this than actually solve the problem. So, Mr. Speaker, I do support suspension of the rules, and I'd ask for a roll call.
Roll call has been requested. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Further discussion. Representative Hortman.
Members, I think that we should vote to take up this bill right away. It may be that the bill that ultimately is before this body at the end of the debate is not one that you can support. But I think that we can all support moving as quickly as possible to get relief to Minnesotans who are currently experiencing delays. So I'd encourage members to vote yes on the suspension of the rules, and then let's see what's in front of this body at the end of the debate.
Any further discussion on the Torkelson motion? Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the motion. The clerk will close the roll. Lesh votes aye. There being 126 ayes and 0 nays, the motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its second reading.
Second reading, Senate File Number 3133.
The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson. I do have an amendment here, I believe, to put the bill in the format you would like. Would you like to take that now?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I have the DE2.
Yep. There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Torkelson moves to amend Senate File Number 3133, the second engrossment, and the amendment is coded DE2.
The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson, to introduce the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The DE2 amendment is the exact language that passed out of Ways and Means after going through the committee process here in the House of Representatives, and that is what I would like to send back to the Senate. It does include the $10 million in funding and a number of other provisions, Mr. Speaker.
The member on the amendment to put the bill in the shape the author would like, Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Torkelson, would you yield to a question?
He will yield. Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will you explain the content of the House language a little for those who do not serve on the committees that it traveled through, please?
Thank
Member
you.
from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Horstman. I was just trying to hurry the process along, just as you would like. First off, there's a number of specific provisions as to how this money is to be spent, including the $7.5 million from the driver services account and the $2.5 million from the vehicle services account. There are specific provisions as to how that money is to be spent. $551,000 for staffing, $694,000 to support the development and implementation activities of MNLARS, $195,000 for driver vehicle services business costs, $4.776 million for contracting to perform the software development on the vehicle services component of MNLARS, $560,000 for driver vehicle services staffing, $624,000 for the Office of Minute, $2.599 million for technology costs. Of that, $100,000 for user authentication, $20,000 for testing, $650,000 for partial relocation, $780,000 for disaster recovery, $1.049 million for contracted software review and software development. There is a provision in this bill that would require the governor to refill this money that is being taken out of the DVS accounts with money from the administration, and that needs to be done by October 31st of 2018. There are a number of provisions regarding performance measures. I will not read through all of those, and a number of provisions regarding progress reporting, an effort to make sure that the money we're investing in the Department of Vehicle Services is actually well spent and does the things that they have said they would like to have done. There is a Subdivision 5 of the bill is a request for information. This is a bill that's also traveling separately, sponsored by Representative Regina Barr. This is a provision that would require the department to take a look at the possibility of an outside vendor supplying this software for this system. And finally, there is a portion of the bill that probably is not as important anymore since the governor issued his letter regarding Real ID, but it's requiring the governor to request a Real ID extension. Those are the contents of the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Hortman.
Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I know this is still being passed out. I know not everyone has it yet, and I hope that we will not vote on it until everyone has it. Mr. Speaker, I would request a roll call.
Roll call has been requested. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I know there are other members on our side of the aisle who have been on the committees that this bill has traveled through who have more to say about this, but Representative Torkelson, if you would yield to explain why you're proposing to insert the House language when the Senate language, my understanding, could be an expedited pathway to getting relief to Minnesotans.
The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson. He will yield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Hortman. There are a number of provisions that are in the House bill that are not in the Senate bill, a number of accountability measures that we believe are very important. The specifics of how this $10 million is to be spent is there are no specifics in the Senate bill. We feel it's important that we carefully monitor how this money is spent given the past performance of the department. That, along with the provision for the administration, is required to refill this account because as you know, as everyone knows, they actually asked originally for $43 million. If we don't refill that account, we won't be able to address any of that out of the reserves, and we feel that we need those resources available, and that is the crux of what we have in mind. I would also remind you that this Senate language that just passed off the Senate floor today did not see the light of day until today. And we need a chance to evaluate the Senate's position. Just to accept that blindly without thorough evaluation would not be appropriate.
Representative Portman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Torkelson, have you had any indication from the administration of whether they support or oppose this proposal?
He will yield. Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Portman, we have had some indications that there are certain provisions within the bill that the administration does have some heartburn over. Going to the process of a conference committee will allow us to address those with the administration.
Representative Portman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to take this moment to thank the people who worked on the sound system in the Minnesota House of Representatives, because I was able to hear everything that Representative Torkelson said, and I think we can all agree that the new sound system is a lot better than it used to be. But I think that the Senate has taken a better approach of working with the administration, and that if we were to stick with the Senate language, that we would move this faster towards getting relief to Minnesotans. So I will be opposing the amendment.
Again, members, we have an amendment to put the bill in the shape the author would like. Discussion on that amendment. The member from Waseca, Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to just remind this body that we've heard discussions here about how this $10 million will relieve taxpayers. I just want to make it clear that this $10 million won't relieve any of the taxpayers of the failing of MNLARS. It is still broken. All this $10 million will allow is for the relief of the department to keep moving forward with trying to fix their problems. So we need to make sure that our rhetoric really represents the realities of life. Our constituents, the taxpayers, the ones we're trying to relieve, have already paid for this to be fixed and to be done. And now we're adding more. So let's be a little cautious in what we do, and let's take on Representative Torkelson's amendment and approve it. Thank you.
The member from Ramsey, Representative Hausman.
Members, this is one of those days when you're so heartened at one point, you think we've made a breakthrough at something so urgently needed to act quickly on. And I heard there was an agreement between Republicans and Democrats and the governor's office that we had a path forward. And I came here really excited, and now I discover we're going back to a very awkward solution. And now that the language is before you, I'd like you to take a look at page 2, lines 2.3 to 2.8, and ask yourself if you've ever seen that kind of specificity written into law for how money is to be spent. And I'll just point out one line, 2.5, $20,000 for testing environment hardware, including servers and data storage. I talked to the staff person who came up with that number, and she did the checking, and the dollar amount is something like $19,976 or something like that. She rounds up to 20. What happens if when they go to purchase the equipment, it's $20,500, and we've written this specificity into law? We have just complicated their life, and we have slowed down this process. Do they have to come back to us to get approval for that higher amount? And how can they do that if we're outside of session? We had an opportunity, and we still do, to act on an approval between Republicans, Democrats, and the governor's office, rather than going this very cumbersome, slow process. And I'd urge a rejection of this amendment.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Carlson.
Mr. Speaker, I want to make a few comments. We had this very amendment up before the Ways and Means Committee. And a couple of points that I want to make. I requested, and Representative Knobloch allowed some testimony, and we heard from the commissioner. And when you prescribe these amounts, she made the point that because people had already left, the contractors, that she would have to negotiate new contracts. And she would be locked into those numbers, and it would be very difficult and maybe in some instances impossible to renegotiate those contracts and fit exactly within those numbers. In other words, there's no flexibility from the commissioner's perspective. The other point that I would like to make is that in committee, the date October 31st, 2018 was inserted as an amendment. And when you look at that amendment, that means that the backfilling, just so you understand, the 10 million comes from those special accounts within the department, but then they have to be backfilled by 10 million in cuts to state government. Now keep in mind where we are in the biennium. There's contracts that have been let. If they have to lay off employees to get that 10 million, there are costs with that, unemployment compensation and so on, severance pay. So it's going to be more than 10 million. And then if you look at where we are now, that's roughly 7 months that has to be backfilled. If you look at the language on page 2, lines 13 and 14, the transfers have to take place by October 31st, 2018. So you're going to be cutting 10 million plus the costs of severance and so on within a 7-month period. So it's much more dramatic than it would appear when you simply say that we're backfilling with the 10 million. It's a lot more complicated than what we've been led to believe here today. The other thing is that I'd like to point out, just as a bit of a background here, the issue is a long one and a disappointing one. I think we all wish it had been resolved much sooner. This does go back 11 years. It goes back over 2 administrations, the Palenti administration as well as the Dayton administration. And so I'm not one that wants to point fingers one way or another. The reason I point that out, we're at the threshold now of moving forward and perhaps getting this done in a timely manner with the agreed upon language on the Senate side. So I would urge a rejection of the amendment that's before us so that we can move forward in a timely manner, take up the Senate language, and they're in recess, as we just learned, and literally we could pass this today and move forward. So thank you for your consideration.
On the motion to insert the House language so then we can begin debating the bill, I will recognize the member from Nicollet, Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. And I share the disappointment with Representative Hausman. When I got word that a compromise had been achieved that involved the governor, the Senate, I found out that the vote was a bipartisan vote in the Senate. I thought finally on this issue we could reach a compromise, and if there's ever an issue that we want to reach a compromise, this is it. This is a kind of a technical issue in many ways, and we know that many, many Minnesotans are affected by this. And inserting this amendment does nothing to promote that compromise, and I just think it's a fundamental mistake. It's really a matter of time, as Representative Hortman stated. We know that people are leaving these positions. It slows down the repair of the system. We got to repair the system. We got to keep moving forward. We got to sell these cards. Got to get our tabs, et cetera, et cetera. It's a matter of getting the job done. So it is a matter of time. It is a matter of getting the job done. Things that people at home tell me about, and Representative Torkelson, my guess is you hear that a lot as well. But what I hear most often at home is work together to get the job done. Take advantage when there's an opportunity for compromise. There's no end of issues before this body where we can't compromise. I get that. And that's fine. That's the nature of a partisan legislature, and that's the way politics works. And I think my neighbors accept that. This is not one of those issues. This is a fixing a computer problem. And by choosing to accept this amendment, you're saying to Minnesotans, we are choosing not to compromise. We're going to keep up the fight. We're going to keep up the delay. And we're going to kind of seek revenge somehow over mistakes done yesterday. I just don't think that's what Minnesotans want us to do in general, but especially with this sort of a bill. So I'm going to ask that we vote no on this. And let's go with that Senate bill. Let's discuss that. Let's see if we can pass that out of this House, send it to the governor, and get this issue behind us and move on. Vote no on this amendment.
Further discussion on the motion to insert the House language so then we can begin debating the bill. The member from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I wonder if Representative Torkelson would yield to question.
He will yield. Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I wanted to ask a similar question that Representative Hausman brought up, the issue that we did hear about in the Ways and Means Committee about the very specific amounts of money that are in this bill. And so my question to Representative Torkelson would be, what happens if there is a need to exceed one of the very specific amounts in here, say just by $500? Say there's, for example, there's a line in here, 1.21, $4,776,000 for contracting to perform software development on the vehicle services component of MNLARS. What if they go out to contract and they can't find anything and it's $1,000 more than what's in this bill? What's the process for getting that money, or are they just not allowed to go forward at that point?
The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative. These numbers were supplied to us by the department. And the reason we're being so specific is because we have had so much difficulty getting straight answers from the department. I just remind everyone that this program was virtually guaranteed to be in working order last July. They gave us no indication that they needed more funds. In fact, we were swimming along nicely, waiting for them to get this program fixed with the funds that they had in hand, when suddenly they came to us on the 31st of January saying they needed $43 million more, without really a good explanation of why they need $43 million more, when they had told us last year that they had enough money to keep proceeding forward. We got these numbers from the department. I believe that they are good numbers. We have a chance now when we go into conference committee to revisit those numbers, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with the commissioner of the department. She's new to the job, and maybe she made some mistakes in her numbers. I'd be happy to adjust those in conference committee if necessary. And if there's some other suggestions as to how to add some language that might make it easier for her to accommodate these specific numbers, I'll be happy to consider that too. But the point is, they have not performed well. And the point is, we feel it's important that we understand exactly what they're going to do with this extra money that they are demanding at this late date.
Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, Representative Torkelson, I don't think he answered my question, because we did hear the commissioner testify in committee, and she testified that having these very specific numbers could present a problem, because I hear what you just said, you did say in committee, and I appreciate that. We don't need to go back over the whole history of this thing. We all know that we're in a difficult situation, and we need to get it fixed. But the question is whether this language before us actually really moves us in the direction of getting it fixed. Even if we put aside the fact that procedurally this is probably a little slower than if we reject this and just accept the Senate language, we'd get this done immediately. But even putting that aside, the question really is even if she is in good faith, even if the department is giving these numbers, this was, I understand, right off of their budget. But as we know, a budget is a document that puts forward an expectation, and things can change, and costs can change, and bids can change, and inflation can even impact these kinds of things. And since so many of our employees that were working on this have now left, it may turn out that it costs a lot more to hire the kinds of employees that can actually get the problem fixed. So my question really was, what is supposed to happen under this language that you're trying to pass right here on this House floor if the amount of money that is required for one of these very specific line items goes over even by a little bit? What would be the process? Is the commissioner supposed to come back and get a new appropriation, even if, say, the legislature is not in session? I think my point is just that this language, according to the commissioner, just isn't workable. And if there's one thing we want to do, it's make this thing work, not put new stumbling blocks in front of the agency so they can't get the problem fixed. We all agree that there's a problem. We all agree that things have not been done in the best way, but we have a new commissioner who's working very hard to get this thing going. And I think this language should be rejected. if only for the reason that we don't do this to agencies, do these very specific line items without any kind of safety valve for if this doesn't work. So, members, I would urge a no vote on this amendment. And just to say, too, Representative Torkelson, you know, there's this implication that, oh, well, it doesn't really matter all that much what's in this because we're just moving it to conference committee. And boy, this legislature has really been characterized by that. The fact that what we do here on this floor doesn't really seem to matter anymore. The details of what we pass off this floor doesn't seem to matter. When it was last year, this body was passing language in for insurance subsidies, and I remember the debate very well. It was, you know, just get it to conference committee. That's where we're going to do the work. Well, members, we're supposed to do the work in our committees, and we're supposed to do work on this House floor. And conference committees are only supposed to really reconcile bills between the bodies. They're not supposed to be the place where the work actually begins and ends. And so we shouldn't be passing bills that actually don't work, that we know don't work. So I urge members to vote no on this amendment.
Further discussion. I want to remind the body as well, this in the past has been a procedural motion to put the bill into the shape that the author would desire, to insert the House language. I do have an amendment at the desk filed that would put the bill right back into the Senate bill. So there's a very good likelihood if we continue to debate this procedural amendment that we're going to have the same debate twice here on the House floor. So my hope is we could respect the custom and usage of the body, put the bill in the shape the author would like, and then we will have an opportunity for this exact discussion again. If the body desires, I am here to serve at your pleasure. If you'd like to have the debate twice, we'll be here all night, and I'll be happy to be here with you. So, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I think debate in public is good. I'm not sure if you can read my mind or not, but or anybody's mind on the floor, but the purpose I was going to raise in conclusion here on why we should not insert the House language. This body had the opportunity to solve the problem on March 1st. It's now March 19th. 19 days. Now, Representative Torkelson mentioned that we were notified on January 31st. So now we're on March 19th. If we insert the House language and pass it and it goes to conference committee, we know that those notifications, people are going to be gone on March 31st. Not that far away. So 19 days of delay. We've got 20, 21, 22. Mr. Speaker, parliamentary inquiry.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
We are going to be in session next on Wednesday, is that correct?
The time of reconvening has not been set yet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we're not sure when we come back where if the conference committee had met or does meet, and where it meets and when it meets, if it meets in the middle of the night somewhere rather than in the daylight, if it meets behind closed doors and then it's presented to the conference committee for an up or down vote and then it comes to us. We could debate this now. We could say, we're not going to take the House language. We're going to pass the Senate language, and it's going to go right to the governor, problem solved. And then all of the other bills on MNLARS, deputy register reimbursement, formula changes, all of those things we can debate in the future. But we could solve the problem right now by voting no.
Further discussion on the motion to insert the House language. Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the amendment. The clerk will close the roll. There being 81 ayes and 46 nays, the motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. We now have the bill in the format the author would like. The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson, would you like to introduce your bill? Or you may have already done that. Representative Torkelson.
If I haven't, I would. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm urging folks to pass the bill as amended.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Anderson S. moves to amend Senate File number 3133 as amended as follows, and the amendment is coded A2.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Anderson S. To your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, the amendment that you have before you is, I want to say, a way for us to communicate with the governor on how we feel about his budget proposal that he released on Friday. In the governor's budget proposal, he instituted a $2 fee on individuals to pay for what has been the MNLARS mess. I can say from my perspective, I don't think that this is the right approach to go. Though I appreciate the governor trying to work on this issue, I don't think a $2 fee on the people that have been experiencing this mess for the last 6 or so months is the right way to go. And folks, I'll just tell you, I've got a stack of complaints from folks about this whole system. I don't think adding insult to injury is the right approach, so I'd ask for a roll call, Mr. Speaker, and I'd ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Roll call has been requested. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Discussion on the Anderson S. amendment. Discussion on the Anderson amendment. The member from Nicollet, Representative Johnson.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, we haven't gotten an amendment back here, so it's hard to discuss.
Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was just wondering if the amendment has been copied yet.
I believe it's being handed out as we speak. I see it being distributed, so we can certainly wait a bit if people want to have an opportunity to look at that. Is there any further discussion in the meantime? The member from Waseca, Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And while it's being rolled out, I again just want to reiterate that here again, the $10 million here isn't going to be any direct relief to the taxpayers, to the people using this program. The program is still broke, and it will be after the $10 million is handed out. It's going to take a while for it to fix it. And now to ask the constituents out there, the voters, taxpayers, to now pay $2 more for something that they anticipated the department and the governor to have fixed with the dollars that they said that they needed for the project. And by the way, we've given them additional dollars in previous years whenever they've asked for it. And so this is a time in which we really need to start holding somebody accountable for this, and that certainly is the taxpayers' request of us. So now to say, okay, we know what is broke, we know that we didn't do our job, therefore, why don't you guys bail us out again, I think is really inappropriate. So I also would ask for a no vote on this amendment. Thank you.
The member from Nicollet, Representative Johnson C.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Petersburg, I'm a little more confused based on your comments. So would Representative Anderson stand for a question?
She will. Representative Johnson.
Representative Anderson, if you would give me another summary of this amendment. I'm reading it quickly and I'm not doing as well as I would like. And also if you would indicate whether you support the amendment.
Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Representative Johnson. No, I would encourage everyone to vote against this. I'm offering the governor's package of his proposal on how to address this issue. And in the governor's proposal that he issued on Friday, he is asking all Minnesotans to pay a $2 fee on top of what they've already contributed to this MNLARS mess. If you remember when this was first instituted, we allocated as a legislative body $40 million to MNLARS for the purpose of getting this thing up and running. And we were told at that time that $40 million would cover it. Since that time, 10 years later, we have dumped in a total of $93 million, so double the amount of what the original ask was, and we still are nowhere near to having a capable, functioning MNLARS program. I've got a litany of emails and constituent correspondence from folks upset with how MNLARS has impacted their life. And if you look through some of these comments from folks, here I've got a fellow, Sean is his name. He says that this MNLARS mess, it's costing him $6,000. His comment to me was, this inaction by the state for a simple correction and reissue of title is mind-blowing. This is a real financial loss due to the poor DMV system. I got another constituent individual here whose comment says, this is from Melanie, now I've got $41 wrapped up in getting my tabs, plus all the trips going to town and missing work. Just questioning whether we can keep going this route. This one was really a kicker. This one says, dealers are no longer able to conditionally transfer titles. The state is still enforcing the late fee for title transfers that are over 10 days. So this is a dealer, and this dealer is paying for the late fees. For us to come back then and say that we're going to tack on another $2 that people are going to have to pay, and they've already paid lots of money out for this. Another fellow, he had to travel, this one really got me. He said, I took 3 trips to 3 different cities. Took me 3 trips to 3 different cities to get titles and licensing done on 8 purchases. 6 hours in the car, 2 hours at each location that could accommodate me after I persisted that they effort themselves to successfully complete my needs. I know all of us dread that moment when you have to renew your license and you stand in that line and you try and find the one place that you know that maybe the line isn't going to be long enough. But imagine standing in line for 2 hours only to find out that, oh, by the way, we can't fix it and you need to go somewhere else. I got to tell you, that would infuriate me. Now for us to add insult to injury to say that on top of that, we're going to charge you this amount of money because we couldn't figure it out, I think that's the wrong approach. And I think that most of us would agree that that's the wrong approach. And today is our opportunity to send that message of we need to go back to the drawing board, because making these people pay and pay and pay again is not what we should be doing. Not in their time, and certainly not from their pocketbook. So vote no on this amendment.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I guess that is how I understood it. If you recall my remarks a couple of minutes ago, I think my neighbors are just saying, this is a computer system that needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed now. We've got to make sure we've got the best people to do that. It needs an infusion of money. Get this done yesterday. And yet what we're seeing the majority doing here is not only doing a stall, but using this. There's universal agreement there's a big problem with MNLARS. And there's universal agreement that there's been a big problem with MNLARS for years. But what is not coming, what Minnesota is saying, where's the universal agreement in getting it fixed? And here we get infusing politics. We're talking about the governor's budget. Lord knows what else we'll move on to. The point is, I'm trying to make today, is I consistently hear it. I hear it at my town halls. I hear it at the doorstep. I hear it when I'm out to eat. I heard it at the grocery store yesterday when I was at the Hy-Vee from 2 gentlemen, in fact. My neighbors keep telling us, work together, get the job done. And what the point is, the whole point of this effort today is to get the job done so MNLARS is passed. And it's these sorts of amendments that I think Minnesotans are just sick of, to offer an amendment that you're not even going to vote for, which I find it's one of the more, I've seen it before in this body, but it's a behavior that doesn't seem to make logical sense to those of us who taught civics classes years ago. Thank you very much.
The
member from St. Louis, Representative Metza.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is a pretty serious issue, and I know a lot of our constituents have been dealing with it. For me last summer, it was the #1 issue I heard on was people not being able to access the services from the state or the private centers that are subcontracting to get what they needed in terms of their licensure so they could be in compliance with other laws. And I have one gentleman in particular that got in touch with me for a commercials driver's license, and we've had to fix it twice now. Twice. 2 years in a row. They couldn't get him the stuff mailed in time. I do agree we should probably look into, as this is moving forward, making sure they aren't fining people for being late. That would be a really good idea since they can't get the job done right now. But we can't get the job done either, it looks like. And that's really unfortunate too. If there were a pothole sitting outside of our parking lot here, I would think we could argue about fixing it for a month or so if all of us members were driving out there and knocking our car out of alignment every day. It's a funny place sometimes. Bottom line, in rural Minnesota, we have a lot of private vendors who are doing this work for us. They're working overtime. There's a woman in Cook who, she and her husband own the local place there. And he passed away. She is struggling to make ends meet as a business and could end up closing her doors, making a drive for someone a couple hours just to renew their license. We need to act on this, and I'm sure a $2 fee is much better than being in non-compliance and getting a $200 ticket while they're driving. So I think we should be looking for solutions here and getting this done.
The member from Ramsey, Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to add, one of the critiques I hear from my constituents is that all we do here is play political games and we don't focus on getting things done for people, and I think this amendment is exactly that. We just voted that there was an urgency, and now we're playing games with this amendment that you want us to vote no on. It's just an incredible waste of time, and if this is an urgent matter for Minnesotans, which I think it is, then we should be focusing on that and getting a bill to the governor so we can start solving this problem. Thank you.
Further discussion, the member from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Representative Anderson yield, please?
She will yield. Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Anderson, I'm just trying to understand how the money that would be raised under your amendment would be used in the House language that we're now working off of. So does this, well, maybe you could just tell me, where does the money go? Or does it just supplant money that's otherwise available under that language?
Representative Anderson S.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Liebling, in the governor's proposal that he put out on Friday, he wanted to establish a separate technology fee and put that into a special revenue fund, which is what you have in this amendment. So we took the governor's proposal of creating a special revenue fund for technology and charging a $2 fee per transaction. So that's what this amendment does. And for the folks that have talked about this being political games, I don't think that the governor thought it was political games when he put out his budget on Friday. He believed in it. So what I think that we're doing here today is communicating to the governor whether we think this is a viable option to consider as we're looking at the long term that we need to do in addressing this issue. I got to tell you, Representative Torkelson has the patience of about 10 kindergartner teachers. I applaud him and his work and his willing to work on this issue and being very patient. But this is not the right approach to do. Making the people that have been suffering for these last so many months pay an additional fee on top of already an egregious amount of money that has been put into this. After this is all said and done, we're looking at $41 million on top of the $93 million that we've already paid in. That doesn't include other funds that are going to be dumped into here. Folks, we can't continue to go down this road. And I don't think that the people who have been suffering this, the financial losses that they've been suffering, and everything else, that this is the right approach. But we do need to have that communication to the governor, whether you like it or not. It's not political games. This is his proposal. So let's say what the legislature thinks about this. And I got to appreciate, again, Representative Torkelson. His measure passed with bipartisan support. And that's what we're voting on today. And I urge you to support Representative Torkelson, but let's tell the governor what we think about his long-term solution on this. A $2 fee for everybody, another tax that people are going to have to pay to try and fix a program that has just been failing us day after day.
Representative Liebling.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do not think that former Governor Pawlenty would agree with you, Representative Anderson. A fee and a tax are not the same thing. Remember? So I don't know. That takes us into different territory. But Representative Anderson, you really didn't answer my question. And by the way, even if the governor proposed this in his budget, you're bringing the amendment, and you didn't answer the question. So this fund that this is going into, apparently, by looking at the amendment, is a fund that previously existed. I don't know if it still exists. Maybe somebody else on the floor here can tell me whether it does. But you know, you talk about adding insult to injury. I mean, from the people whose situations you described, I would think $2 to then solve the problem, I would think they'd be overjoyed. If somebody really lost $6,000, you know, this is like being cheap about filling the pothole, as somebody referred to over here, when you could ruin a tire and knock your car out of alignment, and it ends up costing you a whole lot more. I mean, nobody likes to pay for stuff, but $2 doesn't seem like a whole lot. And as I'm looking at this here, we used to have this kind of fee, and it was $1.75. So, you know, yeah, nobody really likes to pay for stuff, do they? People really would like to think that things fall out of the sky. And I get that starting under former Governor Pawlenty, that this boondoggle started, and he apparently wasn't able to do what should have been done either. This has obviously been something that has been a lot more of a problem than anybody expected, and it needs to be fixed. But I don't know, from what you're putting in front of us here, how the $2 per person is going to be used. I don't know how it interacts with the rest of the bill. I don't know. I just don't know. And I don't think you know either, because you didn't answer the question. So that makes it really hard to vote, because I'm not against voting for money to solve a problem if it really solves it. And I think Minnesotans would rather pay $2 extra than have to wait in a long line or have to come back in a few weeks, or, you know, all of the problems that happen when this isn't fixed. So, you know, I think you're looking at it the wrong way, but I wish that we had a little more context here, because I think the way you brought it to us is just really a gotcha, because you're just trying to see, oh, who's going to vote for money? You know, that's kind of the oldest trick in the book, and I'd be happy to vote for money if I thought it was going to go the right place and solve the problem. Unfortunately, I can't tell from what you're offering whether it does or not.
Representative Anderson, S.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Liebling, I thought I was pretty clear in explaining what this does. If you look on page 1, under section 1, that's where the $2 fee is. That's a new fee. That's not an existing fee. It's a brand new fee. If you look on page 3 of the bill, it says the $2 must be deposited in the Driver and Vehicle Services Technology account in the Special Revenue Fund. That is how the governor has described that he wants to do his $2 fee. So this is the governor's plan. It's explained right here in this. Happy to help you out in reading the bill.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, and more so the public out there if you're watching, this is the worst type of things that we do here in the legislature. It's gotcha. We're playing a gotcha game. Representative Anderson said it herself. This is the governor's plan. But I don't support the governor's plan, she says. I don't support it. I don't think we should pass it, but this is the governor's plan. So we're going to put it up there and make sure everyone votes on it. And when you all vote no, which we should all vote this down, so we can get this bill to the governor's desk or to a conference committee, so we can get it done and get this system going on the right track. But this is a gotcha game. And when the governor's budget comes up, Representative Anderson will stand up in her committee and say, see, nobody supported this. So why should we go forward with this? And that's going to throw it back at our face. And anyone that votes for this, they're going to say, see, you want to tax our residents more. It's all this is a gotcha game. And it's not the type of politics we should be playing. This is an urgency. We declared an urgency to bring this bill up. And we're sitting here fighting about, squabbling about stuff and playing gotcha games with it. It's not what we should be doing. We should be getting something done for the people of the state of Minnesota. We should pass this bill. If it's going to have to go to a conference committee, get it to the conference committee, get it passed, get it back here so we can get this system fixed, get the people working on it before they all leave at the end of the month. So members, let's just vote on this and get it voted on and get it done, because it's going to get voted down. We all know that, and let's move on.
The member from Dakota, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, I generally believe in pay as you go. However, when you're here for a while, you start to see patterns. Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. You see different issues, but the same tactics, the same procedures. Usually it's Majority Leader Pepin that does something like this on fuel issues. I mean, so same as it ever was, just the same playbook over and over again. So I know there's a more awesome amendment after this one. So I'm going to vote no on this one because it's not pay, Representative Anderson. It's play. Keep playing the same games. Let's vote no and move on.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And would Representative Anderson yield for a question?
She will yield. Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Anderson, I really wish you would reconsider and withdraw your amendment so we can vote on the underlying urgency, which is clear, and we can get money to the people to get our system fixed. I just bought a car, got license, tabs, and a title within 3 weeks. That's because they were working. Every day that passes by, it's going to pile up and pile up and pile up. And that stack of letters that you got is going to get a lot bigger. So I wish we would just stop playing these partisan games and pass a bill so we can get the money to the people who are fixing the system. Our constituents want it. We want it. So let's just stop playing games. I urge you to withdraw your amendment so we can take up the urgency of this underlying bill.
Member from Dakota, Representative Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, we are talking about a major government function. This should have been solved. As Representative Hansen said, we had the opportunity to at least stop the bleeding on March 1st. We didn't do that. For those of you who were watching Transportation Finance the other day, a whole section of deputy registrars were in that meeting. These people have been going for months without paychecks. So not only is everybody that has to do with the Department of Public Safety not getting serviced, the people that are providing the work are also being hurt very badly. We need to get something done. It should have been done a month ago. It should have been done more than a month ago. I just don't know how long the Republican Party wants to keep on playing games with something, and when people are hurting so desperately. I voted for us to do the urgency. The Senate has a bill that we know the governor also agrees with. Why wouldn't you start from there? Why do you want to take 5 steps back? It doesn't make sense what you're doing. Please reconsider. Let's get something done, and we need to get money to their deputy registrars. Again, months ago, these people are suffering, and we're playing games here as far as I'm concerned. This is not doing anything when you're taking 5 steps back. For what?
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, a roll call being requested, the clerk will take the roll on the amendment. 17 nays and 8 ayes. The amendment is not adopted. There is another amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Hansen moves to amend Senate File Number 3133 as amended, and the amendment is coded RA 18-015.
I recognize the author of the amendment, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would ask for a roll call.
Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Well, here's another attempt, since we're being repetitive. I think here's an opportunity again, one last chance, to take the Senate language, approve it. It matches up with what the Senate passed, and it goes to the governor. Problem solved. And then in the future, we can talk about fees, or we can talk about reform, we can talk about reimbursement for deputy registers, but we can solve this problem that has been growing each day since March 1st. So what does the Senate bill do? What does my amendment do with the Senate language? It appoints has the legislative auditor appoint an information technology auditor to actively monitor and report on MNLARS. It has that auditor conduct an assessment of MNLARS and defines what that assessment should include. It creates a steering committee, and that steering committee is legislative. The authority rests within our body and the Senate. It has the Legislative Coordinating Commission provide administrative services for that. It has the steering committee, and it has, by May 15th, the Commissioner of Public Safety and the State Chief Information Officer submit to the committee a progress timeline, a plan for user acceptance testing, a plan for input on code releases, proposed communications plan, creating greater efficiencies, performance measurements. All of these components worked out between the House, or between the Senate majority and minority in the governor's office. It has review of the appropriations. It provides the appropriations from the existing special revenue fund, 2.150 from the vehicle services operating account, and 7.5 million from the driver services operating account. They're one-time appropriations with the accountability. Now, the executive didn't like everything that's in this bill. Not everybody likes everything that is in this bill that passed the Senate floor and that's in this amendment. I ask for your vote to problem solve. I ask for your support to get this done right now, to approve this amendment and solve the problem that is facing us as people are leaving right now. We can solve the problem with a simple yes vote on this amendment.
Discussion to the amendment. Recognize the member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. You said it yourself, Representative Hansen, or you almost said it, when you tried to say the agreement was between the House, the Senate, and the governor, and then you had to remove that slip of the tongue and take House away from it. The fact is, by adopting this amendment, you're cutting the House out of the conversation. The House language that we'll be passing off the House floor today went through the committee process. It passed with bipartisan support, and it has provisions that are quite a bit different than what's in the Senate bill. The Senate bill's provisions regarding accountability only deal with future expenditures. They do not deal with the current expenditures of the $10 million. We have a good, strong House position. I plan to defend it in conference committee. I plan to move this as quickly as possible, but we deserve to respect the House's position, and it will get some respect in the conference committee process.
Further discussion to the amendment. Further discussion. Member from Hennepin, Representative Hornstein.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to add my voice along with Representative Hansen for a yes vote on this amendment. You know, there is a very, very key difference between what the bipartisan Senate approach versus our approach, and that can be found on the Hansen amendment on page 5, section 3 under appropriations, and then on the Torkelson approach, you'll find it on page 2, lines 13 through 26. This is a very key difference and contrast. We are proposing to move money that's in the existing special revenue account of DVS to account for this $10 million. Under the Torkelson approach, he's trying to take money, existing money from state agencies, to cut the budgets of state agencies that are providing, he says that aren't providing essential services. Well, who defines essential services? Is it fishing licenses? We're coming up on fishing opener. That's an essential service. That's not in this amendment. We can go on and on and on. The people of Minnesota will be affected by more cuts to essential state services under this approach. And there's no relationship. Let's look at this DNR example. There's no relationship between fishing licenses and driver and vehicle services. So members, this is a key difference. And we shouldn't be squabbling about where this money comes from when it's the rainy day fund of DVS. DVS is directly related to MNLARS. Simple approach to get this money, because we don't have a difference on the fact that we need $10 million right away, but there is a key difference, and I know the executive agencies will argue this, in terms of where we're getting the money. So again, we're making a bad problem worse under the Torkelson approach. Let's go with the Senate approach. Get this done now. Let's provide immediate relief for our citizens rather than continue to dawdle and drag this process on. Please vote for the Hansen amendment.
Further discussion? Further discussion? Member from Dakota, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Hornstein clarified really the difference in approaches here. The Torkelson amendment and the bill raid from funds. Again, we've seen that before, haven't we? Raiding from other funds. So unspecified where those cuts will come from. We heard that a no vote should occur on this because it wasn't the House language. So it's pride that will cause the pain to continue. It's pride that will cause the pain to continue. We don't know when this will get done. Today, tomorrow, tomorrow night. The days will continue to go by because of pride, where we could vote yes on my amendment, the Senate language, finish this, move on to reform, reimbursement, whatever else relating to MNLARS, and there needs to be other issues. But right now, we have folks leaving. To solve the problem, vote yes on my amendment.
Further discussion? Seeing none and a roll call being requested, the clerk will take the roll on the amendment. Clerk will close the roll. There being 45 ayes and 80 nays, the amendment is not adopted. There are no more amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 3133, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. Any further discussion? Member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speakers and members. I'll keep this very brief. We need to get this process moving, but we do need to respect the wishes of the House. I'm anxious to get to work, get this work done, but frankly, folks, you're right, it's not the end. This program is not working. We do have some serious issues with the administration and how they have administered this program. It's a horrible failure. The fact that they're coming forward at this time, at this late date, with this huge request for funds, and it's kind of unusual in my mind that they're willing to lay off the most important people at the last minute. I want you all to think about that, but think about it while you vote green on this bill.
There being no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill as amended. Clerk will close the roll. There being 98 ayes and 27 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. Calendar for the day. House will report the next bill on the calendar for the day.
House File Number 1975, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to municipal contracting, the first engrossment.
Recognize the author of the bill, the member from Scott, Representative Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House File 1975 deals with public bidding relative to water tower maintenance. Currently, Statute 471.345, which deals with open bidding, specifies that contracts estimated to exceed more than $100,000 must be solicited by public notice for a best value practice. In the early part of last decade, an exception was made with Subdivision 5B to assist a small Indian reservation in Cass County with their nursing home to get its water system compliant and avoid a financial nightmare, which would have occurred had the subdivision not been added. In recent years, an engineering firm has found that subdivision could be used to avoid open bidding on contracts to maintain, which is to paint and coat water towers, often with cost exceeding $1 million. HF 1975 clarifies in Subdivision 5, item 3, that if the cost of a specific item exceeds $100,000, the municipality must use the open bidding methods, as is the case in any other expenditures costing the same amount. The reason for this clarification is quite clear in that it demands open bidding be followed in the case of large water tower maintenance contracts, just like any others a municipality might enter into. My reason for bringing the bill is best summarized from information I found in a memo from the League of Minnesota Cities to its members, which states, competitive bidding has 3 general purposes. First, to ensure the taxpayers benefit from the lowest obtainable price from a responsible bidder. Second, it provides contractors with a level playing field. And third, it limits the discretion of contract-making officials in situations that are susceptible to fraud, favoritism, or other similar abuses. Recognizing that we've been sitting here for a while, I won't go into all 3 of those, but I do have some details here if anybody's interested. I'm pleased to be bringing the bill forward because it corrects something I think has become a loophole for some to avoid what I believe is a well-defined and long-time tested way of providing the method in which the public's tax dollars are spent. In addition, I'm happy to bring it forward since it's an example of a citizen coming forward to me, seeing something they didn't think was right, and then taking the time and effort to see it corrected. So I'd like to thank Tracy Galleri and her staff from her family-owned business in Egan, who has spent a considerable number of hours visiting with legislators, talking with stakeholders, and working to get this bill to our floor today. Fellow members, HF 1975 is a true example of something that needs to be done, and better yet, a citizen left the effort to get it here and pass it, and I would request your green vote.
Discussion to the bill. The member from Carlton, Representative Sundin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and will Representative Vogel yield to a question or two?
He will. Representative Sundin.
Representative Vogel, could you tell me if there were any quality issues with the workmanship and from the one contractor that did the bulk of the work that you referred to?
Representative Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative. I've not found any quality issues as I've researched this. I know there has been some discussion on that. In committee, there were photos of water tower repair jobs and the rust standards that had to be met. The company that has been the exclusive choice of the engineering firm that's been doing this was applying a different standard, and actually from what I saw there was more rust occurring there than what is the typical bid contract where no rust is allowed at all.
Representative Sundin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not worried about the rust you can see. I'm worried about the interior of those water tanks and the finishes inside those tanks as they affect public health. Does your bill address the public health issues at all?
Representative Sundin, are you asking the member to yield?
Yes, I am.
He will yield. Representative Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and Representative. What the bill does is applies the same standards to competitive bidding as every other municipality, or not every other, but most other municipalities are doing now. And I think one of the important things here is that there's the possibility for a conflict of interest from the standpoint that the engineering firm that is writing the RFP is the same engineering firm that is contracting with the contractor to do the work. And the independence that I see with a separate RFP and somebody writing those specs and then going out to the public and speccing the quality of work that the city wants, to me is a more secure way of doing it than relying on the engineering firm that will write the spec and then put the job out to their captive company base, not their captive company in as much as they own it, but the exclusive company that they've been using to do the work.
Representative Sundin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't challenge your thoughts on the competitive bidding process. I do feel it necessary to remind people that the lowest bid is not always the best result at the end of the days.
But and I'm not going to challenge your bill whatsoever. I think it does serve a purpose. But I'm hoping in the future I can work with you and we can come up with some better standards that protect drinking water for our municipalities. Thank you.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 1975.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. Representative Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've said what I can say, so I just appreciate a green vote. I think it's a good bill.
Clerk will take the roll on the bill. Clerk will close the roll. There being 125 ayes and 1 nay, the bill is passed and its title is agreed to. Next on the calendar for the day is House File 2636. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 2636, number 3 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to local government.
Recognize the author of the bill, Representative Erickson, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. House File 2636 is a proposal that gives townships the same authority that cities and counties now have, and that's the ability to appropriate funds to give to nonprofits so that the nonprofit that runs a food shelf has additional funding to help those in need to receive food at no charge. Members, this is Food Share Month, and I think this is a good proposal. It's permissive. Not all townships have to do it, just like not all counties and towns or cities have to do it. But I know that there are townships already doing it, so they would like to have this process legitimized. I'll stand for questions, Mr. Speaker.
Members, there are no amendments at the desk, so the clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 2636.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. Discussion to the bill. Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Clerk will close the roll. There being 115 ayes and 10 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3158. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3158, Number 4 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to commerce.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Hennepin, Representative Anselmo.
Mr. Chair and members, I'd like to introduce Bill 3158. This is a bill that will update the mortgage loan origination process. Currently, Minnesota is the only state in the nation that has 2 separate tests. We're looking to have 1 test to meet the federal standard and combine the Minnesota requirements within that. This process will streamline the way we have mortgage originators do their business and make it easier to do transactions. Most members here have people that have mortgages in their community and mortgage providers. And this is something that will help them, help our economy, and it's something that would be ideal to pass with a green vote.
Members, there are no amendments at the desk, so the clerk will give the bill its 3rd reading.
3rd reading, House File Number 3158.
3rd reading. Discussion to the bill. Further discussion to the bill. Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll on the bill.
Mr.
Bills.
Speaker.
Clerk will close the roll. Gruenhagen votes aye. There being 126 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed, and its title agreed to. Representative Bennett, for what purpose do you rise?
Mr. Speaker, point of personal privilege.
State your point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, I have a House resolution before me here recognizing March 19th as celebrating Women in Public Office Day. Whereas the month of March is Women's History Month and celebrates the significant contribution of women of all races, ethnicities, and backgrounds have made to the world, and I yield to Representative Slocum.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Slocum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Whereas women play a critical role in the vitality and diversity of our communities and are essential to ensuring the state of Minnesota is well represented. And I yield to Representative Barr.
Member from Dakota, Representative Barr.
Whereas, while the 20th century was a pivotal time of growth for women entering politics, women remain underrepresented in male-dominated fields, and thus providing opportunities to support women in public office is imperative, and I yield to Representative Ward.
Representative Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Whereas recognizing women in public office will bring awareness to the fundamental necessity of their work and will inspire other young people to serve in their communities. Now, therefore, I yield to Representative Peterson.
Representative Peterson.
Be it resolved by the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration of the House of Representatives of the State of Minnesota that it recognizes March 19th as celebrating Women in Public Office Day and call upon the people of Minnesota to unite as we support the success of women in public office and observe every March 19th with appropriate activities, events, and programs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there are no objections, we will take action on these motions first. The member from Dakota, Representative McQuaid. For what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
State your point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, on Saturday, the Eastview High School girls basketball team defeated Hopkins 68-63 to become the state champion. So please join me in congratulating the Eastview Lightning.
If there are no objections to the motion and resolutions, the motion will prevail. There are a series of motions at the desk. Clerk will report the motions.
Howe moves that House File Number 10007 be recalled from the Committee on Government Operations and Election Policy and be re-referred to the Committee on Civil Law and Data Practices Policy.
Representative Howe, to your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this bill should have went to civil law in the first place. It's dealing with state government suing local government. Both chairs, I've talked to both chairs. Both chairs are good with this, and that's my motion.
Discussion? Hearing no objection, the motion prevails.
Quam moves that House File Number 3292 be recalled from the Committee on Health and Human Services Reform and be re-referred to the Committee on Taxes.
Representative Quam, to your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I've talked with the chairs. I talked with the minority lead on HHS. This is a tax matter, and that's why it's going to the Tax Committee.
Hearing no objection, the motion prevails.
Pinto moves that House File Number 3574 be recalled from the Committee on Health and Human Services Reform and be re-referred to the Committee on Health and Human Services Finance.
Representative Pinto, to your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House File 3574 expands a pre-existing grant program in the Health Department to support and address prenatal care disparities. It was originally referred to the Health and Human Services Reform Committee, and this motion is simply to re-refer it to Health and Human Services Finance, where it probably should have been referred in the first place. I've connected with both the chairs of the committees, and they are supportive of the motion. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails.
House Resolution Number 10, a Senate concurrent resolution number 10, a Senate concurrent resolution relating to adjournment for more than 3 days. Pepin moves that Senate concurrent resolution number 10 be now adopted.
Call upon the member from Hennepin's, Majority Leader Pepin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This resolution would simply allow us to go for more than 3 days without meeting. It will allow us to enjoy our Easter break from March 29th through April 9th, and the Senate has already passed it. I appreciate your support.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion prevails. Announcements. Representative Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to announce that I am extremely proud of one of my constituents, and that would be Monster Mike Schultz, who participated in the Paralympic Games. Not only did he took gold medal in one event, and he took silver in the other. So I am very excited to tell you that it was wonderful to watch some of the media that was put out about him, where he would be standing, they would be waiting to compete, and one of the other competitors would be having issues with their leg that he made, and so he would adjust their legs before they went to compete. This is the type of thing that just makes us all super proud, and I can't say enough about what a wonderful guy he is, and I'm hoping to have him here soon after he gets back from Korea. So please join me in a wonderful congratulatory applause for Monster Mike. Thank you.
Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm rising to make an announcement about the Legislative Audit Commission. We're doing a little bit of a different process this year. You should have received in your in-basket the survey forms. So the survey forms are coming later, and you have to turn them in quicker. So they have to be in by the end of the day on Thursday. If you don't have them, I have copies here available, and you pick 4 topics. We have narrowed down to 11 topics, and on Friday we will likely pick 5 of those 11. So your input is valuable. I would encourage you to take one of these if you haven't, and I'm happy to receive it right now.
Further announcements, Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, GOP members, we have a short environment huddle in our caucus room downstairs. And Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say congratulations to the Rosa girls. They got second in the state basketball tournament this weekend. Coach Kelsey Diedrichson has done an outstanding job with these women over the past 4 years. They've got second this year. Last year they were state champions. The year before that they were 4th, and the year before that they were 2nd. So congratulations to the women of the Rosa girls basketball team.
Representative Anderson P.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I also want to salute a girls basketball team. The Sauk Center girls team defeated that outstanding Roseau team in Saturday's championship game. And no, they're 2 great basketball programs and do a wonderful job in the state. But interestingly, it was a rematch of last year's championship game. And with the win, the Sauk Center girls' record for the year was 33 wins and 0 defeats. And with that record, according to folks I've talked with, that's the most wins ever by any basketball team in the state of Minnesota. So join me in saluting the Sauk Center girls high school basketball team.
Representative Johnson B.
Mr. Speaker, members of the GOP Public Safety and Security Committee, we have a short huddle after session downstairs in the committee in the caucus room.
Further announcements. The member from Rice, Representative Bly.
Point of personal privilege.
State your point of personal privilege.
I rise to speak to a resolution of the House signed by the Speaker and the Majority Leader and myself, recognizing a distinguished constituent in my district on his 80th birthday. I'm not going to read the resolution, but I'd like to say a few comments about Professor Richard E. Crowder, who taught religion at Carleton College in Northfield from 1967 to 2003. His interest ranged from studying Friedrich Schirmacher, the founder of modern Protestant theology, to biblical studies, St. Augustine, Soren Kierkegaard, Reinhold Niebuhr, and the relationship between religion, politics, and modern secularity. He has lectured widely in the United States, as well as overseas, especially in Germany and the United Kingdom. I got to know Professor Crowder as a 16-year-old high school student in 1968, after Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, when he was interested in working with other members of the community on a Better Chance program, which brought into our high school students of color from a variety of other high schools where it was believed they might not get the best chance at doing well in their future. He and his family became the hosts for those young men who came to our community to be in our high school. It was not supported by everyone in the community, as not everyone thought integration was a good idea. As an example of how a person of faith enters the social realm to address problems we face as neighbors and citizens, he tried to encourage dialogue and understanding among those we see as different. Professor Crowder and his wife and young child were courageous in their effort to build relationships and in a direct, face-to-face way, make a better world. During his time at Carleton College, he reached thousands of students, urging them to take a clear-eyed and compassionate look at the human condition. He celebrated his 80th birthday on November 2nd, 2017, and I'm happy to report that he remains healthy and active in his community, continuing to support citizens and neighbors to make their lives better and more peaceable. Thank you.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Continuing in the tradition, Representative Lyndon Carlson and I would both like to congratulate the Robbinsdale Cooper Hawks for their victory in the Class 3A high school girls basketball tournament this past weekend. So go Hawks.
Representative Pepin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 12 noon, Wednesday, March 21st, 2018.
Representative Pepin moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 12 noon, Wednesday, March 21st, 2018. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. Representative Pepin.
I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Pepin moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those no. Motion prevails and the House stands adjourned until 12 noon, Wednesday, March 21st, 2018.